Genesis 37. We're starting a new series, as you see. This one's called, it's going to be dealing with the life of Joseph, but it's not going to be his entire life, a good part of his life. Joseph in the Old Testament, of course. There's 10 lessons in this, and my son and I have talked about it, and what we're going to do, we're going to rotate. I'll do today, and he'll do next Sunday. We'll kind of rotate back and forth is our plan right now, to do the rotation with the lessons as we teach. So, has everybody gotten the handout? If anybody need one? Anybody? Brother Bryson. Thank you, brother. Good to see you there. Good to see you. Anybody else need a handout? They're cheap today. All right. There you are. Okay. Anybody else need one? Oh, there you are. Hey, how y'all doing there? There's a couple of them there. All right. Anybody else need one? All right. So it's our new series talking about the life of Joseph here. You're probably very familiar with it. And this lesson, I don't want to downplay it any, but it was initially designed for our young people's group. This group is still young, all right? We're still young in life. We haven't grown up, and none of us grow up, it seems like. But we're not going to, you still learn things. I think we can still learn things from a young man's life and what happened to him. So that's our plan. Well, turn this on would help. The dreamer. This first lesson I'm going to deal with him and his, of course, his family. I'm going to give you some background a little bit to his family, because I think you need to see that a little bit to understand about him and his brothers that are involved here. As you know, this lesson here is going to involve only the first 12 verses of Genesis chapter 37. That's what we'll be dealing with here. So, let me go ahead and read the passage there, and then we'll be back and forth on it anyways. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. And the lad was with the sons of Belial, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all the children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. Now, in verse 3, we'll stop there and say, who is Israel? Jacob. Okay, so everybody knows that. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream and told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more, and said unto them, and he said unto them, hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the fields, and lo, my sheaves arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood around about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more in his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it to his brethren, and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he said to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee in the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father deserved this saying. So a little bit about Joseph's background. This is my famous timeline I like to use and show for you. I have copies of this for you here, because there's other slides that go with this. Hopefully you can see this well enough, but we're going to take this little piece right here. Here's Job, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Here's Moses. It goes on like this. So way back at the beginning of time when God created the earth, then you got Joseph, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob here. So we're going to take this little piece right here and expand this. Right down here are about when these books of the Bible were written, okay? And as you see, y'all should be very familiar with this. You've seen this thing enough times. I could probably give you a blank sheet and you could draw it for me, right? I ought to try that with you. I think I really should. I think I should just give you just the lines and let you fill in all the blanks there. But of course, when you got King Saul, King David, King Solomon, and the southern kingdom, northern kingdom, and captivities, and all the way to Calvary, of course. Talking about the Old Testament. There's the overview of the Old Testament for you. So we're going to take this little piece right here, and I need to give you a little background to Joseph's life because of who he's the son of. The son of who? Jacob. So I took that little piece there, right here, and I expand this down. Here's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So this part here, we're picking up in Jacob's life here. And here, I know you can't see it well enough, but this here is Jacob. Here's his age about this time. He's about 77 at this time here. I know this isn't in your lesson, but I like to lay out a little bit of background for you, okay? This here, the statement up here, now you probably can't read it, of course, but it says, Jacob arrives in Haran and falls in love with Rachel, and Jacob commits for 7 years to serve Laban. Y'all familiar with that? Everybody remember that story? So he commits 7 years to serve for Rachel, but what happens at the end of 7 years? 7 years goes by pretty fast, it says, for him. Here's the 7 years, zip. So here's the wedding day. So on the wedding day, what happens? Laban tricks him and gives him Leah. Wakes up and finds out he's got the wrong person. Of course, he's not too happy about that deal, is it, Jacob? So he fulfills the week of 1 week, I believe, at one time. He marries Leah. There's a 1 week period, and then he marries Rachel. But he commits to what? 7 more years again. So in the period of time that happens here, he's married to Leah. He's married to Rachel. I know you can't see it as well enough. I apologize for that. I tried to make it as bold as I could. So what happens? So they started having children. So this section here is Genesis 29 through 30, the birth of their children. So about this time, there's Reuben, there's Simeon, there's Levi, and there's Judah. Well, time is moving on, and Rachel's what? Not having any children. So Rachel does what? She gives Jacob her handmaid, right? Bilhah. So Bilhah has Dan and Naphtali. So Leah says, hey, I need some more children here. So she does what? She gives him Zilpah, her handmaid. So Zilpah has children, right? So she has Gad and she has Asher. And then Leah has Issachar, and then it moves on to Zebulun, and then it comes Dinah, the daughter. That's why hers is different. She stands out different. I may not say her name exactly the right way, but I'm trying to figure out how to say it. But in the same year, approximately the same year, here comes who? The favorite son, Joseph. From the whom? From Rachel, the wife that Jacob loved the most. He finally gets a son after all this time. From her. I mean, he's got sons, okay? But what I wanted you to see here, if you haven't noticed this is all estimation on time-wise to fit in here. But these sons are older than Joseph, of course. We keep that in mind through all of this. So time goes on at this time. This period here is the 6 years that happens. And this is where Jacob has to make a deal with Laban about his flocks. And I'm not going to go through the whole story about the flocks, but where Jacob says, hey, I'll take the ones that are speckled, they're brown, they're discolored, whatever. I'll take all of those out of the flock. They'll be my flock. Laban says, okay. So he takes care of the flock. But he kind of tricks it and he took all the what? The stronger ones out of the flock. So he's helping these get a good size flock here to deal with. So for 6 years he does that. So then God tells him it's time for you to go back to the land of your father. Where's the land of his father? Canaan. He's not living in Canaan here. He's living in Haran is where he's at. So now he has to go back to Canaan. So about this time, The last one down here is Benjamin's born. Might not be exactly that year, might be a little bit later on, I don't know exactly. So I just threw that in there. So Rachel gives birth to Benjamin, and then Rachel, what? She passes away. And then she's buried. But this happens in Canaan when that happens, when she gives birth to him, to Benjamin. So this is about the time. I'll try and give you a view of this, a little bit, the overview of this. But Joseph is considered the favorite son. And you saw that in Genesis, where we were at in Genesis chapter 37, in verse 3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children. So I want to lay out for you about these lessons, how the lessons fit into this. So this is taking that time span. Here again is Joseph. He's now at 17. I just read that to you about this time. And here he's going to be at about 28, then 30. But I want you to see. Here's lesson 1, lesson 2. Lesson 1 is what we're going to deal with this morning. Lesson 2 is when Joseph is sold into slavery. Lesson 3 is passing the test. In our book, it's called Passing the Test. That's when who tries to tempt him? Anybody know? He gets tempted, but he flees. Not Pharaoh's, Potiphar's wife, okay? He flees there. So that's passing the test. But then there's called defeating temptation. That's where her advance. I'm sorry, back it up. Passing the test. He takes care of Potiphar's home. Chapter 4 deals with the temptation. Chapter 5 deals with he's framed and forgotten. He's put in prison. He's forgotten. Remember why he's in prison? He helps the chief butler and the chief baker. He helps interpret their dreams. Okay, so that'll be lessons. Let's see, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is 6. He comes 0 to a hero. That's where he's promoted by Pharaoh. Then going further, a little bit further on, the years of plenty take place. Then lesson 7, grace to abound, where he meets his brothers again. They come during the time of famine. Benjamin is brought to Egypt, lesson 8, lesson 9, facing forgiveness, and then chapter 10, the fallout. That's where Jacob comes to Egypt. So that gives you an overview of these 10 lessons that we're going to touch on. As you see, it covers a good part of Joseph's life, but it doesn't continue on to the rest of Joseph's life. But that's what we're taking from this book right here. But I want you to see how it all fits together a little bit for you. So, first part of this lesson, first piece of this lesson, it says in your book, in your handout, he was faithful. What was he doing to be considered faithful? Looking at Genesis 37, what is Joseph considered doing to be considered being faithful? I'm sorry? He's tending his father's sheep, isn't he? He's doing that, isn't he? At age 17, he's doing this. In where is it? Chapter 37, verse 2, it says, and these are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. And the lad was with the sons of Belial, and with the sons of Zipha, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father the evil report. Now, it's going to be another bullet here in a second. So at 17 years old, what's he doing? He's working. He's faithfully doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's working with his brothers. But his brothers don't seem to care for him too much, do they? He took care of the flock, feeding the flock. There was a distinction in his actions, and his brethren brought this what? Unto his father their evil report. So that's something different about it. You know, he was doing what he's supposed to be doing. But what was his brothers doing? Plotting against him. It could be. But they're supposed to be out doing what? Taking care of the sheep, aren't they? Taking care of the sheep, the cattle, all that. What they're supposed to be taking care of. But apparently they're not doing that. That's the indication here. Because the indication is he brought into his father their evil report. And what's your first thought when you hear that? When you see that there, what do you think about this guy, Joseph? What's he like? He's a what? A squealer. So that's our mindset, what we think. He's a tattletale, he's a squealer. So what would you think? Is that what you think about him?
A lot of times we look at Joseph and like, he wasn't
All right, he was his favorite.
Staying on the Father's good side, while, how good I am, and look at these guys.
Putting that extra wedge in there between him and his brothers. Anybody else who got a thought on that?
Getting some extra points for his father.
He needed extra points for his father? Oh.
At 17, you do a lot of things.
Oh, come on. Y'all didn't do nothing wrong at 17, did we? Pardon? Honesty. That's our mindset too. We think, man, Joseph, why'd you tell him? Why'd you even say anything? But does the father know what's going on? He doesn't know what's going on. He thinks all his sons are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not doing everything they're supposed to be doing. They're giving their father a false impression of what they're supposed to be doing. And he's trying to give them a good report. He's standing up for what's right. Yeah, we have our first mind. Why are we against people who tell the truth? A squealer? Are we against that? They all shouldn't be squealers. No squealers allowed. Don't we want people to tell the truth too? This passage has been up for a debate from a lot of people. Joseph, you shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have done that. You should have just left it alone. You drove a wedge. You're trying to gain points, whatever it might be. Did he need points? No. I don't think he needed any points. He probably could have done wrong and still got ahead. Yes?
He was doing all the work too. He was doing all the work.
Yeah, probably that. He's probably thinking, where's my help out here, you know? To know what the true story of what's really going on. Yeah. Well, like I said, this passage has come up for debate from a lot of people about, well, he shouldn't have said anything. He should have just kept his mouth shut. Yeah.
Instead of a squealer, would there be any of those other boys would tell the father he's more of a whistleblower?
Apparently, none of them said a word about it either. Yeah. About being a whistleblower, or squealer, or whatever you want to call it. But I don't think it's negative on Joseph. Joseph's laying, hey, he's telling what's going on. He's telling his father, Father, this is what's going on. You need to know. Not be deceived, not being led, being deceived what's going on with my brothers.
He might have just had his fill with his brothers.
Would you not think, put yourself in that situation. You're the one out there working hard. You're the one doing this. And you got all these brothers supposed to be helping you, and they're not helping. And so you go tell your father this. Think about it. What are you thinking to yourself? I'm really going to put myself away from, I'm not going to make a good impression on my brothers, that's for sure. It's not going to help me any with my brothers at all. And there's more of them than there is of me. It took a lot of courage to even say what he had to say, to tell the truth about this. Next point. He was favored. How was he favored? Was it obvious? How was it obvious? How was it, brother? You talk about some obvious standout when you got the best colored coat in the house. Why is that significant? Did everybody get a colored coat? Was it easy to get a colored coat? Pardon? It was not something you just walk down to the local tip down the hall, down the road there and get another colored coat, was it? You just didn't get that. His father made this coat for him. His father made a coat that was of multicolors. It wasn't that anybody else could just, your brother Simon, he's got one too, but his is not that many colors, and he's got one color in his, And Levi's got one too, but his is a different color. No. It wasn't that available for him. So his father did this. He loved his son, but he was shown to be so favored, was he? If you're Joseph, how would you feel about that sometimes? Hey, look at me. But he was loved by his father, and he knew it. And they knew it too. The brothers knew it too. It was very obvious to them. But before this, it was also obvious to them. Where did Jacob and them, before they came into Canaan, they lived somewhere else, did they not? Haran. And God told him when they were in Haran, told Jacob, when you're Haran, you need to go back to the land of your father. So they all traveled back from, I don't have the map, I should have had a map for you to show you that. But to travel that distance down to Canaan, where they had to travel to, before they got there, Jacob knew that he was going to see his brother who? Who was his brother? Him and his brother had a kind of a, they weren't good speaking terms, were they? His brother Esau when he left. So on the trip coming back and the plan bringing his family and his flocks back down to Canaan, what did Jacob do? He put his handmaids out first, like in groups, put them out in the front. Put the handmaids and their kids out front. Okay, now keep that in mind. Those sons with their mom, they're in the front of this thing, this caravan moving. And the next one is Leah and her sons. And who's the last of the group? Rachel and Joseph. Benjamin is not born yet. Rachel and Joseph. Because of why? He loved her, but why? Think about it. I'm sorry? That's what he was afraid of. He's afraid of his brother. Because remember, him and Esau were not on good speaking terms. So he didn't know how Esau was going to respond to him coming back into the land. So he put those out in the front in case things didn't go too well. But he also sent ahead of them, what did he send? A front of them. Gifts. He sent gifts, flocks, and whatever, 200 some of this, and whatever numbers were. I don't know what all the numbers were. But he sent flocks ahead of that with servants, trying to appease Esau before he got there. But when he brought his family along, he put his handmaids and their children, then he put Leah and her children, and then to the far back, he kept Rachel and Joseph, the ones he loved the most. Now, do you not think that his brothers and their moms said, why are we up here? Why is he back in there? Why is Rachel and Joseph way in the back there? Didn't that also set up a different, little bit favoritism here? Y'all are tough to talk to this morning. I know it's early and I ask about a bunch of questions. But wouldn't you not think that they were thinking of this at time, even by this time of chapter 37 we got here? They've already experienced some things. Even though they were little kids and their parents were there. So at that time, well, here it is right here, passage. On the trip to Canaan, Jacob separated Rachel and Joseph for safety. But he put them towards the back end of this whole caravan for their own safety. Okay. But when he met Jacob, they got along, they kissed and hugged, and they were glad to see brothers, were glad to see each other, and everything was nice and good and all that. It worked out great. Okay, so that was good. But the other thing was what we had already mentioned, which was very obvious. Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, and he made him a coat of many colors. His brothers recognized that. Even here it says. It just stood out, They just realized. I could see Simeon and Levi. I said, Jacob's, we could tell he's number one. Where are we at in this whole thing? Who was the oldest brother? Who was the oldest brother in this whole thing? Wouldn't you think the oldest brother be the one who got the coat of many colors? The most expensive one? Reuben, yes sir. Reuben was the oldest brother. He didn't get it. But all these other brothers said, I didn't get a coat. Did you get one? No, I didn't get one. My dad didn't do it for me. They all had the same dad, but they didn't get anything. So how was he favored? We see that. He was hated. Oh, was he hated? Why was he hated by his brethren?
His father created that. His father created that picture because of the way he treated those kids.
Yeah, makes a difference. I'm in agreement with that. They were jealous of him, were they not? Because what we just said, that it's obvious how that the father, which Jacob, he did what he did, and he chose a son over the rest of his sons. Let me ask you, are y'all parents in this room? Y'all been parents in this room? Y'all had more than one child? Do you have a favorite child? Don't raise your hand. We don't want, somebody might see this and say, well, now I knew it all my life. Somebody was favorite. But have you ever had a favorite child? You shouldn't have, should you? Or you're thinking, yeah, I do. I have a favorite child. This is the best one I had in a whole bunch. But should we have favorites in our children? No. We love them no matter what. No matter how they are. We still love them. Do we get disappointed in what they do sometimes? That's a possibility. But do we get excited when they do the good things? Yes, that's a possibility. But no matter what, they're what? Our children, the ones we love, we take care of, no matter what. Now, if you only have a favorite child out there, don't tell me. I don't want to know that. Your children don't want to know that either, unless they've already picked up on that already. So why was he hated? Their father's show of favoritism to him. And of course, the coat of many colors. I mean, that was like a big badge, you know. I'm the favorite, and you know it, and I know it. Everybody knows it. And they hated him for it. Because what does it say down here? In verse 4, and when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they were excited, they were happy, they were what? They hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. Can you imagine that as a brother, as a family member? You got all these brothers here. Did any of y'all have a lot of family that you grew up with? I mean, as far as brothers and sisters and all that? I mean, you kind of want to, don't you kind of want to get along with your brothers and sisters and stand up for them when things go wrong? And did you? I don't know if you did or not. I'm the oldest. I have a brother and I have two sisters. One sister's with the Lord now. And I was the oldest. And I would look out for my family. I mean, we all as brothers and sisters, you all had those, you're in my way, whatever issues you dealt with. We all dealt with that. But still, we're family, no matter what. And you think of Joseph here being 17 years old, hated by his brothers, and he couldn't even talk to him peaceably. How would you think that would be like? To grow up in that kind of a family environment, knowing that your brothers could not talk to you peaceably. Wouldn't it put a lot of discouragement to you, too, as well? But how did Joseph respond to all that? We'll see here later on. Joseph in his dreams. His dreams were special. So why were they special? Why were the dreams special? I'm just taking the part off of the lesson here because it says his dreams were special. So why are they special? They're prophetic. Anything else? They're prophetic because they're from the Lord, of course, given to him. But what else about his dreams? And we're going to talk about one here and another one, two of them here this morning, of course. Anything else that you can think of?
What showed him being the one in power, and that when he told his family that could make them more faithful towards him, that they would bow down to him later. It's like, oh, not us, not you. That's
Yeah. But it showed what with his brothers? I know what you're talking about, the illustration of the dream, but what did it show to his brothers?
it was special.
I'm sorry?
That he was special.
That he was special. Did any of the other brothers get the dream? A dream to talk about? No. And also something important about dreams too is what? There's a couple of things important about dreams. I'm not talking about the dreams that you have right now when you eat that spicy spaghetti, pizza, whatever. I'm not talking about that kind of dream. But back then, what's so important about the dreams?
God spoke through dreams a lot of times.
He did. God used dreams to speak to his people. Because why? Were they able to walk around with one of these? No, they did not have the scriptures with them like that. And God revealed himself through dreams to them. Something else I thought about with dreams too is dreams are illustrative, are they not? Just like I try to show you some pictures to illustrate. I think God used illustrations a lot. And even in the dreams, you think about these dreams we're going to talk about here. Two of them we're going to mention this morning. But even in the dreams are illustrative of things, are they not? Because that's how we kind of connect to things, to see illustrations as well. God revealed to Joseph only and not to his brethren or his father. Now his father Jacob earlier had a dream before, a long time ago when God talked to him. He's had dreams before. But this time God did not reveal to Jacob. And he did not reveal to his brothers. But he revealed to Joseph this dream. So his dreams were specific. So how were the dreams specific?
They show what was going to happen, that he was going to bow down to.
Right, and we'll get to that dream here in a second. Let's get to that dream here. We'll see what this says. Revealed that his brethren were going to bow down before him. In verse 7, I don't know how well you can see that illustration, but that's supposed to be Jacob there. Joseph. Here's his sheaf standing upright, and here's all these 11 bowing down before him. I thought it was a pretty cool illustration I found. I like pictures. I like illustrations. In verse 7 it says, and in verse 6 it says, and he said unto them, hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. That's pretty tough. For them, they hated him even more. Jacob could have had the dream and done what? I ain't telling these guys a thing. You know, they don't like me, and they're not going to like this either when I tell them this. But he did not. He told them the truth. But the dreams were specific because we know, and we already know because we know the rest of the story. The rest of the story is what? Not that we're here now in this lesson, but later on one of the other lessons are, when they come to Egypt, what are they going to do? They're going to bow down to this guy. And they're going to be afraid of him. The same brother they sold into slavery. But at this point, they don't see that, of course. But we know it's specifically going to happen. So his dreams were sure. And how were his dreams sure? Psalm 19 verse 7 says, the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. This next passage, I think, is the key one here. Isaiah 55 verse 11 says, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereunto I sent it. This is what the Lord said. The Lord says when his word goes out, it's going to accomplish what he wants it to accomplish. It's going to be that way. Regardless if the brothers like it, or don't like it, or hate for it, his word's going to take place. It's going to happen. Joseph and his message. His message took courage. Why was his message courageous? We've touched on this a little bit already. He dreams this dream, and he does what to it? I'm not telling anybody.
He tells them, even though he knows his brothers hate him, that they're probably going to hate him more than he tells them what the dream was.
Right.
But, I think he thought it was from God, and they needed to know.
Good point. Good point. He didn't keep it to himself. He told his brothers, knowing his brothers already hate him. They didn't want to speak peaceably to him in any ways already. They were against him. That's pretty courageous to still stand and still tell the truth and still tell this. It took courage for Joseph to tell his brethren who could not speak peaceably with him. We saw that in verse 4, and hated him yet the more. You think, how can you hate him any more than you've been hating him? You won't talk to him right. And now you hate him even worse. And that's what they were doing. But what about Joseph? Be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. What about us who know the word of God and we don't tell somebody else about it? We don't share it with somebody else. Are we not? We have it, and we all, I'm including this, we have a tendency to be a little bit what? Timid, afraid of sharing sometimes with people. Because of why?
They think they're going to reject us and not want to hear what we have to say.
And we think of that, and we think in that terms of being rejected, don't we? And look at Joseph. He had been rejected a lot of times by his brothers. Yet he did what? He still shared with them what God had revealed to him. Should we not also, and I'm speaking for myself, should I not also share with other people, though I might be rejected, though I try to hand a tract to somebody who says, I don't want that. I don't want that trash. Doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Sharing the gospel, being on visitation, whatever it might be, to be in contact with people. And what? We're going to get rejected. They're going to get people not going to like you. They're going to hate you sometimes, whatever. But there are going to be some people who say, hey, this is just what I need to know. This is something I've been looking for. I didn't know it. I never heard this before. But how much for him to do what he did is courageous to do. His message took commitment. How was he committed? For him to tell his brethren a second dream, even though they hated him. Genesis 37, verse 9, here's his other dream. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it to his brethren and said, can you stop there and just think at that part about that? My brothers hate me and I'm going to tell them another dream that I've gotten? And he's going to tell them. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it to his brethren and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. Now, this dream's a little different. And how is it different? It's not the sheaves, I know, but it's dealing with stars and what else? Sun and moon. Now it's including whom? His parents. Not just the brothers, but it's including the parents in this one. The other dream was including what? Was who? Just the brothers. Didn't include the parents. Now this one includes the parents in this one. Includes. His message brought conflict. So where did the conflict come from? After telling his father rebuked him. In the next verse you see in verse 10, and he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? Can you imagine that? Who loved him the most? Who loved Joseph the most? His father. Who's the one he thought he could always, my dad loves me no matter what. The one person who he knew loved him above all else did what? Kind of turned against him. He would not have expected that from his own dad. What do you think here? You think I'm on the right track with this? I think it's a shock to him. To think your own dad, that one you knew, blatantly said, almost in a sense, put this coat on of multicolors that I love you the most, and your father rebukes you before your brethren. I thought it was a shock to him to face that. But he still did it. He did that. Romans 12:18 says, if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Could you think as a young man that's 17, and you've told your father, he's heard this second dream, and his father has rebuked you for it, how that would hurt as a young man to hurt. Just like it would hurt any one of us, but would hurt as a young man to hurt. But what did Joseph do? There's no indication Joseph said, well, that's it, I'm done with everybody, I'm running away from home. He didn't show any kind of that attitude about this. There's no indication of that. He was probably hurt, I would think, through all of this that went on. So the conclusion. What have we learned from Joseph? What are some things you've learned from Joseph, maybe from this lesson? That's what we're supposed to figure out. What have you learned about Joseph, from Joseph, about this lesson that we could apply to our lives to think about?
We can tell other people that dreams come true.
Yep. Dreams come true.
Joseph was sensitive to, obviously the dreams. He realized that, hey, this is of God, and he was gracious and all that faithfulness, and
Mm-hmm.
on them. So I think this is a lot, and you dig into that, just about his character. Even though he was kind of maybe spoiled,
Yeah.
like his father, it doesn't really come through that he was a brat.
No.
It really comes through his character and the value that was placed in him, even though he was in that position of favoritism.
And it was a tough position, but still he was telling the truth. Yeah. Anybody else? What else you learn about Joseph? I got 3 things I'm going to show you here in a second. But
God speaks something to you and reveals it to you. You must have the courage to share it.
yeah. Anything else? I know y'all just say, well, just give me the 3 answers. I'm just trying to see what y'all are thinking. You know, if you learned anything, hopefully we learned something.
He was faithful to God, no matter what the consequences was.
Good point.
He knew God would take care of him.
Yeah. And we're going to see that, though we've read through, and hopefully some of y'all have already read through Genesis and read more about Joseph here, you see that as you go through how the Lord took care of him and how he relied on the Lord through everything. And I think he relies on the Lord even here. Even when these dreams, realizing, you got this dream, it's like, oh, wow. To see this dream. And when he tells them the dream, both of them, he doesn't interpret it for them. Does he? Or did I miss something?
The self-interpretory.
Yeah. He says, well, made obeisance to my sheaf, and made obeisance to me. He sees that. And they're seeing that when they're seeing this story. So, here's my 3 points. He strived to do what was right. Remember when he was taking care of the flock, even though he came back and told his father, he was doing the right thing, was he not? He was doing what he's supposed to be doing, taking care of the sheep, the flock, the cattle, when they say that. All that he's taking care of, like he's supposed to be doing. And even though he has to give the evil report because of things his brethren were doing, he was still going to do what? He's going to do right. He could have done the same thing they were doing, couldn't he? While he was out there. Would their father even know that he was doing something wrong? His father wasn't with him. He could have said, hey, I'm going to get close to my brothers and do exactly what they're doing, whatever it is they're doing. Did he do that? No, he didn't do that. He still did what was right. He shared what God revealed to him. Was it easy? I don't think it was easy. Knowing that how much they hated him, and still hated him even worse after he told them, knowing that, it probably wasn't easy. The last point I'm putting out here, he showed endurance, though he was opposed. He was opposed by his brother. He was opposed by his father at this point. But he still endured, no matter what. And something about us in our lives, we need to make sure, we're serving the Lord and doing those things, and no matter what, when situations come against us, do situations come against us? Yeah, they do. We're human beings. Things are going to happen to us. Even as Christians, as we try to live for the Lord, things come against us. But how do we take that stand? Every word of God is pure. He is a shield unto them that put their trust in him. Just like Joseph put his trust in the Lord. Do bad things happen? We're going to know. We know next week when we get to the next lesson. Yes, something does happen to Joseph. A bad thing does happen. You'll read the next verses. But the Lord still takes care of him through it too. Doesn't he? All right, any comments, any other questions that y'all might have? Jacob realized there was more to this. And he was doing what? Like I said, Father observed the saying. Thinking about this thing, what he had heard. Anybody else? Anything else? All right, we'll go to the Lord in prayer. We'll be dismissed, and even before the bell rings, you'll be in.